Right, so guys, this video is going to be just basically a bit of advice for specifically Chris, who dropped me this video asking questions about how to plaster large ceilings on your own. So I'll let this video play here so you understand what I'm going to be answering.
Hello, thank you very much for responding to my email so quickly. I really appreciate that. And what I'm going to try and do on this video is what you asked, to try and show an example of the large ceilings that I've got to do. Right, okay, so I'll just turn this round. Okay, so this is a kitchen sort of orangery area. I'm just going to move down to the end here, so hopefully I can show you a better sort of view of the ceiling. Okay, so there is the complete sort of ceiling area. That distance is actually about 13 meters long, 5 meters wide. So it's well outside of my capability to get skin plaster on in one hit. And so really what I'm trying to look for is a method whereby, because I'll be doing this on my own, a method whereby I could do it in stages. And as I mentioned, I wondered whether I could do it by sort of rolling across the ceiling, you know, putting one section on, flattening that off, moving on to another section, putting the coat on, flattening that off, and then maybe going back to the first one, putting a second coat on, and sort of rolling through the ceiling. I can still see that's going to be pretty exhausting, but I wondered if that was a method. Ideally, if there was a way of being able to stop, you know, do a section and then blend another section in, obviously that would be ideal, but I can't imagine it's as easy as that, because if it was, then I guess other people would be using that method for large ceilings. Ignore the wall there that I've already skimmed in. The fireplace manufacturer couldn't hold that any longer and needed to come and install it, and so I just boarded and skimmed that wall. This room's going to have coving all round, so I'm aware that I'll have some potential cracking in there when I do the ceiling, but it won't be shown because of the coving when it goes up. If I walk into here, I've got some other. This is the hallway. I've got some other fairly large ceilings to do as well here. The other ones certainly downstairs are sort of manageable. This room is about 5 meters by 5 meters, and I think I can probably cope with this. I think it's really just that big one that's getting me. However, if I find a method of being able to do ceilings in sections, it might be something that I could use to just make my life a little bit easier. Anyway, as I said, I really appreciate you responding to me. Thank you very much. Any advice you can offer me would be really gratefully received. Please use this video in any way you see fit. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So firstly, to me, that's a lovely house that he's working on there. It's a cracker, Chris. Well done, and well done to the lovely looking work you've done so far with the board and stuff. Looks nice and clean. Place looks tidy. Looks like a dream to actually be plastering in. I know you've still some bits and pieces to do on that video. Hopefully I'm not doing this response too late. I've been very busy with life recently, with obviously with my own, new build and a new baby at my feet. So anyway, how to plaster that large ceiling on your own. Now, I have done a good few big ceilings just solo before, and even though it's sort of, well, even when I was probably healthier and fitter there, still very hard work. Might take you a day or two to recover after it. Again, you seem very confident and fit enough to be able to do it, and also you're smart enough to sort of know your limits when you were saying that, you know, it's too big to do in one go. So, pardon me, there's a couple of methods you could take on that large ceiling to make it more easy on yourself. Again, I know that you said you don't want, there won't be anybody to help you, and it's terrible weather here at the minute, But personally, if it was me, I would try and rope a mate in or a friend, somebody in to mix for you, so that you know you're lightening the load even slightly, even if they're just scooping up to you, or they're moving the bucket about here and there, so that it's just easier for you, and you can focus on the plastering side of things. Again, secondly on that, I would almost ask for a plaster in to help you for a couple of days. If you give them, a day's pay to help you on that big ceiling in the kitchen there, would be more beneficial. And again, there's maybe another ceiling there that seemed quite large. You could maybe get a hand on those, because you'll lighten the workload. But I understand, I'm not sure where your budget is, and I understand it's also hard to get people that you can even trust. So let's just go for your absolute own. Obviously, I would recommend help if help is available. But if you're on your absolute own, the way I think I would tackle that big ceiling. So the big one in the kitchen there, you have like there's probably a steel beam up above it. I'm going to assume there's a steel beam off them two wee sort of hip walls that come out. And that's why, it's all open and it's so big. Personally, what I would do there would be, I would put an expansion joint there, which would be 2 skimming stop beads back to back. And then I would actually, after I plaster, I would actually just scribe the boards a wee slight bit. And what that will do is, and I know a lot of people don't like expansion joints, but what it will do is it'll reduce the chances of anything cracking, any boards cracking. Again, the way you've boarded it already has reduced that. You've staggered your boards and you've it plenty screwed up. So if you do your beads back to back, what that does is you're splitting that ceiling into two. You're splitting it into the one where the bulky side of things is, and then two where the awkward side is. So you'll give yourself a chance to be able to do it in 2 hits with having no joints. So that's a way you could go about that. And again, if you don't like the wee shadow gap that you're going to get, you can put some flexible filler in it and scrape it off and paint right through. Again, that'll still allow that wee bit of movement in them slabs and stuff to reduce cracking. I know I've done that in lots and lots of jobs, even though it wasn't even just me plastering. That was more the fact of to try and make sure the ceiling didn't really crack. Expansion joints, basically what they are is a crack that you've formed, but it's neat and tidy, and like I said, you can put flexible filler in it and hide it, disguise it more. So another method you could do would be, you could just stop there at that same point and feather it in. Because to me, I know you were talking about like a rolling hit where you throw it on and you flatten in, and then you throw more on and you flatten that in, but where you get tripped up there is, so you threw on the first section and you flattened it in, and then you throw in the other section and you flatten it in, then that first one is going to be a lot further forward, and you're going to have to rush back and then start trialing the whole thing. Again, I'm not sure if you're using stilts or crates and hop-ups and scaffolding and stuff. So stilts would make it, maybe that would be a bit easier, but again, if you're on your own, that's not really going to be great, because you're going to be mixing back and forward, so it's going to be hard. Also, the way you're going to be doing that as well, the rolling hit, is you almost want to wash the bucket out every time so that everything's staying nice and fresh and clean. There's also another option you could do with your mixes, and this goes for all of it. You could put in extra time, just one of the pouches per 25 kilograms of plaster, and that will give you a bit more time. But I think it's just really pot life, so it will slow the stuff down as well on the ceiling, but it's still going to be hard work for you. I think you know that anyway. I think that's why you're reaching out for a bit more advice. So yeah, with swiping it in, you could do one half and you could swipe it in, feather it in, and then you could do the other half and feather it in. But again, that to me, what you're creating, it's almost patchy. And if, depending on what your skill levels at, that might be very hard to keep that seamless. Personally, I would try to avoid that even myself. Plastering every day, I would still try and avoid that option. Again, there's another option very similar to that. And again, I don't really like this one greatly either, but you could actually put some scrim tape along there, And after you plaster, don't plaster beyond that scrim tape. Just plaster halfway on it, and plaster away. And then once you're finished and set, you could strip the scrim tape. Again, it doesn't have to be scrim tape. It could be masking tape, something that's going to peel back off again. But you could pull it back off again, and what that'll do is it'll actually cut you a nice clean line. And then when you go to plaster the other side, you can just sort of marry into that line. But to me, that's the same as just feathering it in and then feathering back again. To me, they're very, very similar, of you sort of patching the ceiling slightly. But no matter what sort of option you're going to take there, it's going to be difficult. Again, cold, clean, fresh water in every mix. If you're using a board, pouring it up the board might be more ideal, because you can wet the board down, pour it up in the board right in the middle, and then you can wash your bucket out quickly, and then refill that with water for your next mix, and then go again. Smaller mixes will give you longer to work with it. If you mix 2 bags there in one go, it's going to start tightening. We were doing that on site where we were mixing like 5 bags, and there was 2 of us putting it on, and we're very, very quick plasters. But by the time you were down to, say, what would be the last sort of bag or half bag, it was really, really tightening. That's to do with it all, like the plaster all cooking itself basically, and heating up and crystallizing, already starting to form a slight chemical reaction, and that's like a knock-on effect. So the more it heats up, the quicker it sets and the harder it gets. So if you're doing like 1 bag every mix, 1 bucket, 1 bag every mix, every mix is going to be fresher and fresher. But again, I would recommend would sort of recommend clean water, clean bucket in every one of those, Chris, as it will help. This goes for everybody else. Again, hopefully you're still on it. You have nice clean boards there, so that'll help. They're fresh. It's not like anything that's got high suction. And secondly, the weather's now in your favour because it's a lot cooler. I think when you sent me that, it was very warm weather. Well, we were having nice warm weather. So warm weather's not good. So the coldness is in your favour, because it'll be slower as well. But I think I've covered nearly everything. The extra time, clean water, clean buckets, clean board, in the board, wash, get ready for next mix, get up, plaster on. Again, when you are coating it, you're not going to be coating everything as neat as possible, but at the same time you want to kind of go quick. So you are in a tricky spot there. But judging by them walls, you can definitely finish stuff to a high enough standard. Again, I know it's all camera, but they all look like they've dried out. Considering you're using multi-finish, I would imagine you're using multi-finish on them, or board finish, and it's all dried out, nice colour there, so you're going to have no problems painting them. The only problem you're going to have is you're going to have to scrape them down, because you will no doubt drip them slightly, or you might want to cover up. And again, I know you said with the coving, you're not too concerned about the corners, because you're going to put coving up and it's going to hide your corners, so not too bad that way. Again, I'm not sure, I know you were a subscriber, but there's a video where I do a large ceiling and I break it up into 3. It's a massive guide ceiling. I think it took like 20 bags in total, or something crazy like that. But I broke that up with the expansion joints. To me, it's sort of my favourite way to go about it. Again, you might not like that style, because it doesn't might not suit there, but it does serve a purpose at the same time, and it can be filled and stuff, as long as you keep them both beads. You're nice straight boards there, so you should be able to keep both beads nice and flat. You can bed them up before you start, or you can staple them and screw them and stuff, but bed them up, and then you can hit a straight edge across them to keep them nice and straight and square. So I don't think I need to tell you about straight and square again, Chris, because all the board in there looks very, very tidy. I think that's pretty much my advice there is, if you can get help, take the help. But if not, as they say, you bite off more than you chew like mad. But I've no doubt you'll actually make a cracking job of it, Chris. because you are planning it out. But yeah, if anybody else wants to help out, guys, with suggestions, cream and tartar, all them sort of suggestions of how to slow the plaster down, or how to do bigger hits. The likes of a speed skim might help you, Chris, where when you have it all on, use the speed skim to help flatten it all in very quickly. It's easy. Covers, you can get 1200 ones, 600 ones, a lot bigger than a trowel, and they will flatten it in. They'll get a lot of lines out quickly. So you can go that method. I would really highly recommend that, because you can straighten your angles and stuff, which will make it easier for you putting on that coving. The straighter that angle is, the easier that'll be fitted and made good. But I'm hoping that these suggestions will help you. Again, that video that I did with that big ceiling, I think it was called How to Plaster Larger Areas in Hot Weather. So if you get a chance, have a look at that video. I will try and link that in to the description, so that anybody else also doing large hits has an idea of how to go. But yeah, be prepared, Chris, to not have a tea break for a while. Keep a bit of water close by so you can drink it as well, because you will get thirsty doing it. But if you do have everything set up, you'll make life a bit easier for you, even if you have a couple of different mixing stations ready and a couple of different buckets. Maybe if you use Gorilla tubs and you're happy enough to just whatever's in them, let it set. Just wash your drill, let it set, and crack it out after when it's rock hard. If you don't get it all used up. But yeah, hopefully this does help, and you can drop me another wee video maybe in the future with it all plastered. Would be cool to see if the advice worked in the real world. I know that it has previously helped lots of people. Some people have told me they've rendered whole walls and stuff with the advice given. I think that's great. That's the whole point of the channel, is just try and help people out as well, because what's the point, if I don't share all this knowledge and stuff that I have, it's just gone. In my opinion, the stuff I've learned, if I don't tell people, then the stuff I've figured out over years and hard work, it's just gone. So again, hopefully this helped, Chris. Let me know, guys, and thanks for watching, everyone. And again, if you have more advice, that I've missed something there about stilts or tools, if you can think of anything, guys, get it into the comments there.
What we doing live? Echoes in eternity.